Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to discuss the steps that leading organisations in Australia, across Asia Pacific, and across the world are taking to help their employees stay productive. We'll be talking about the initiatives they're taking to turn technology from an inhibitor of productivity to an enabler and ensure technology is not only available, but secure and responsive. Joining us from Avanti is Andrew Suter, the Area Vice President for Asia Pacific Pre-Sales. And from the University of Southern Queensland, we have Scott Sawley, the Executive Director of IT Services. But before we jump into the discussion, Andrew and Scott, can you please take a few minutes to introduce your organisations and yourselves?
Thank you for the introduction. So in today's work environment, employees use a number of devices to access their IT applications and their data, and that's over multiple networks to stay productive. What Avanti does is we elevate and secure the everywhere work so that people and organisations can thrive without friction.
So the University of Southern Queensland is a leader in online and blended education. So we're backed by world-class institutes, centres and facilities, ensuring we deliver research and teaching with real-world impact. And we really value collaboration with industry and partner with over 50 national and international industry partners to ensure our students receive quality learning experiences and career outcomes. So we have a global digital reach, but physically we're based in Queensland, Australia, with campuses in Toowoomba, Springfield and Ipswich. Our flagship areas really are sort of space and defence, health, agriculture and regional development. And we're ranked in the top 2% of universities worldwide and one of Australia's 6 trailblazer universities.
So I'll stick with you for a minute. How's the University of Southern Queensland managing their workforce today? Have you established a formal hybrid work strategy, and how do you see this changing going forward?
We don't have a hybrid work strategy, but we've valued flexible work for a long time. And again, flexible work is about making sure you have a sort of a work structure that works for the business, but also works for the individual areas. We have many different areas across the university that actually work differently, have different requirements for productivity, different requirements of their workforce. But again, we have a very diverse, set of staff as well, which is really important to us to sort of enforce our mission. So we value flexibility very highly, and we have done for a long time. And if you enshrine flexibility, that allows you to adapt to sort of the changing conditions in the marketplace and in people's lives and sort of in business units as you go forward.
And Andrew, what are you seeing more broadly across Australia, Asia Pacific in your client base, and what's driving that work strategy today and tomorrow?
We've seen it anywhere from 100% flexibility, letting the user choose how often they come in or stay at home, usually down to 2 or 3 days per week, which we see is quite common now. What's driving this? I would say collaboration and interaction across teams, building the company culture back up again to what pre-COVID levels were, and being slightly cynical, of course, IT, it's harder and it costs more to manage employees when they're further away from the office.
So supporting this hybrid and flexible work and the proliferation of devices means that securing these endpoints is sort of harder than ever. What could be the impact, and what has been the impact for Australian organisations who aren't doing this well, and how's Avanti helping your clients in Australia and across the region with this challenge?
So our latest research shows that 63% of employees work away from the office. And what that does is that presents a tremendous challenge in how we manage and secure those devices. You mentioned earlier about users who want to stay productive, and that technology was usually the thing that slowed them down or interrupted that productivity. So users look to what we call shadow IT to get around that. That could be opening work applications on personal devices, could be using their personal email accounts for work communications, could be how they store their corporate passwords on unauthorized applications or browsers, could even be installing unauthorized software without going through the correct approval process. I'm also talking about IT personnel who are working remotely and they don't have access to the same tools that they do when they're in the office. What this does is it leads to a greater chance of some sort of data breach. It's not going to say that you will get breached, but it's going to lead to more chances of a breach, whether that's corporate data being accidentally stored on a non-corporate device, your password might be shared by mistake, or malware that gets introduced by users. outside of the security side, that technology friction that users see, that leads to a drop in productivity. That also leads to disengagement between users and companies, which ultimately is going to lead to the user being less productive.
So, Scott, I understand that the University of Southern Queensland invested in Avanti platform some time ago, initially for IT service management, but now your team delivers much more broadly across that service management space. Can you tell me what benefits an enterprise-wide approach is delivering and how you strike the right balance between a seamless digital employee experience and secure devices and systems?
I mean, I think, there is sort of like, a lot of discussion about shadow IT, and it absolutely happens, in all businesses everywhere. But that's sort of a short-term solution to like our long-term productivity issue. As people try to get around things, once they have a data breach, or once they have like, sort of a lost data situation, or like, their personal laptop is destroyed and they lose like work productivity, often that sets the mentality. So I think, using a really high quality enterprise system and solution actually will give them a sort of a better seamless digital experience over a period of time. And the goal is always to have that as the preferred option to having to use shadow IT. So looping back to the first part of the question, so the benefits of an enterprise-wide approach is when something goes wrong, we are there to help you. And ideally, we actually there to help you quickly, which is like if you're in your personal device, shadow IT, sort of at your own risk. But as we've progressively added in more of the Avanti suite, where she gives us fantastic telemetry on what's actually happening about the devices, that means our reactive support has actually really, really improved as well. So if someone calls up and says something's wrong with my computer, we can tell them with graphs and charts and data sets, we actually know what the problem is and we know what the solution is, and we can actually resolve it much faster. And we can do that in a secure way. Like you don't need to think about patching or those sorts of things, because we will actually we know where you're at. We will actually push the right things to you to make sure you're secure, productive, and we can do that in a way that we actually will not disrupt your patterns of work as well. And so that's the benchmark. If your enterprise solution is better than shadow IT, I think that's where you're winning the game. And that's the importance of having good data about what's happening in your enterprise, and a good service management process. And that's sort of where we sort of use the Avanti tools to sort of work that for us.
But are there any sort of lessons that you've learned along the way? Any things that you would have done differently that the audience might be able to take away from this conversation?
I don't know that I've done anything different. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I think one of the things that has really benefited us strongly is a long-term consistent approach, because consistency really does give you quality, with the staff experience. So if they have sort of a consistent thing, that sort of falls into the background, the technology support experience, and actually they can focus on the work. So we've sort of, used that, as one of our sort of guiding sort of, lights. And we've been through multiple upgrades of the Avanti suite. We've rolled out, new technologies and new modules and new parts of their, application suite. And actually that's just really sort of building on that sort of experience and continuously refining that. So I think you need to sort of, have a continuous improvement. So it doesn't matter what stage of maturity you're at. You just need to chart a consistent journey to keep chipping away and getting sort of that customer engagement right, so you can continuously sort of improving.
So Andrew, back to you. What are the best practices and lessons learned from the broader Avanti client base that can help the audience accelerate their digital employee experience strategy?
So look, I think it's like Scott says, it's understanding that it's a journey and it's not just a turn on a product and you can implement DEX, but it's not as difficult to start as people think. The important part is to start collecting metrics. So what we found is discovery and asset management. That seems to be the best place to start for getting those metrics. The real-time aspect is what's critical to have a good foundation of DEX. Getting information in real time is the key. It's no use using emails, survey results after tickets get closed, or speaking to users to gather feedback. That gives you a point in time, but it doesn't actually give you a true user experience sentiment. So the good thing is anyone who's a current Avanti Neurons customer already have real-time metrics being collected by our agent. So we normally start there, and we see that once we go through those metrics with customers, we start to explain what's being collected. It makes the journey into DEX a lot more manageable.
So Scott, what's next for the University of Southern Queensland in your secure digital employee experience journey? I understand you've been up to some pretty cool learnings recently.
So we're just starting on that journey, like trying to use all this volume of data we've got across all of our devices to be able to sort of use some of those self-healing, proactive things where if we can identify a PC needs a configuration change or an update that's actually starting to affect the user experience, possibly before it irritates them enough to call us, that's when we want to be able to reach out. So those proactive sort of experiences and actually leveraging the alerts and the detailed information we sort of are getting from the devices and how users are using the devices to make it a more sort of proactive experience. So again, it's about us blending into the background where they don't even know they've got an IT support team to actually solve their problem. We're sort of solving them proactively before they become issues that actually require them to call us. And that's about focusing on productivity, not focusing on the technology experience. I mean, if technology can drift into the background and problems just don't happen, that's a good experience. And that makes happy, focused users. We have this invisible IT department where everything just works smoothly in the background.
Users don't want to encounter the interruptions that they see today. So what our current capabilities around self-healing and automation allows us is that shift left your IT. So right now, people are trying to do a shift left to get to level 0 where users can resolve their own issues. But what we want to get to is a -1 where devices have the ability to not only detect that issues are happening, but to resolve them before the user even knows it's a problem. So using DEX to gather metrics, we can see when application crashes happen. So why not upgrade or reinstall that application before the user needs to use it next? We can see when login times are slowing down. So why not clean up the user's profile, remove unused applications and data so it speeds it up the next time they try and log in. We've got one of the users that are customers who are losing productivity when their laptop batteries start to age and fail. So what we did is the user automation tool so that we can detect when the health of an in-warranty machine drops below 40%. If that happens, an incident's raised in service management, an email sent to the hardware vendor, and it arranges for a battery replacement under warranty to be delivered. That increases the device life and it increases users' productivity because they're not encountering those fails. So I think the future is really good where it's going to give users a better experience about their technology. It's going to give them fewer interruptions and those technical frictions. And IT teams are going to be able to use automation to help them support all those remote devices with the tasks that they struggle to react to now.
So Scott, a final question for yourself. How would you summarize your experience with Avanti so far?
So I think, we've been with Avanti quite some time. And I think, we've seen, the product suite actually, grow significantly over the years. And they've sort of grown with us and, able to embrace new things within their product suite as we sort of mature as well. But we're also quite actively engaged in the Avanti community as well, which is actually great. There's a strong user base there where we can actually share ideas and share how we use the product suite and work at what business problems it solves. And we also give Avanti a fair bit of feedback as well. This is what we're seeing, this is what we actually like in the future, and we've been really happy to sort of see that's actually been taken seriously and integrated into future roadmaps and plans. And it's really about that's how you sort of get that sort of your partnership level with you're involving with your vendors product offering and suite to make sure it's actually solving problems and actually getting implemented.
Andrew, how should anyone who's listening or watching this session and then interested in getting started on the journey, how should they start on that journey? Are there any hints or tricks or best places for them to start quickly in particular?
Look, I think the best place to start is to invest in a great discovery tool. Once you understand what's on your network and how it's being used, you can start to gather the digital experience metrics that you need to baseline a DEX score. If you don't know what's on your network, you're not going to be able to manage it. You're not going to be able to secure it. So once you've done that, then probably look at all of your service management cases. Maybe take the top 10 or 15 issues that you encounter a lot, and then work out if they can be automated. If they can, then what you can do is you've got a tool now that can detect and resolve these issues. The important part is having a tool that can do it proactively. So we can detect issues before the user becomes aware of them. And hopefully that's where Avanti comes in. Our DEX platform can integrate into a huge number of tools already. So vendors that you may be using now, you can still use with Avanti. So you can still use the solutions that you've currently got in place, but use that to build on your DEX strategy.
So I'd like to thank Andrew and Scott again for your time today. I hope everyone who's listening or watching today got some good, useful, actionable information out of this session. As Andrew mentioned, if you're after any more information about the Avanti product suite or capabilities, reach out to your customer service or account representative. Or for more information on this topic, follow the link on your screen or the link in the description to access Avanti's latest digital employee experience research reports.
Yeah.